Alright, so we're here with Dominick Lacerenza. You were a teacher in the West Hill School during the riots in the 70s.
Right.
So can you just give me a brief background about yourself, a bio, where you were born?
Born and raised in Stamford, Connecticut. Taught in the Stanford school system some 37 years plus. Was a football coach and a baseball coach in the high schools and where I coached, where I taught. Also coached in other high schools in Stanford, Ripon, and Stanford Catholic High before West Hill was opened up.
So you were a teacher. What did you teach?
Physical education, driver education. In Bridgeport, I was a physical education and English teacher and head football coach in Bridgeport.
Alright, so when were the riots?
In 70s, 72, the second year at the school opened up. And basically these kids had riots, couldn't get along with each other when they were in junior high. They then came up to junior high, and the kind of riots then kind of continued the second year that school's open.
So it was building up. It didn't just happen all at once.
No, it was building up.
So was there a lot of...
There was friction in the halls. There was always friction between the two groups.
There was never a safe zone. You couldn't just walk into the cafeteria and take a break from it.
No. It was there was two cafeterias. One was for that the white kids kind of migrated to, and the other was the minorities, the black minorities and the Spanish kind of went to.
Do you think there was any economic or social causes to it also, just that these kids didn't like each other?
No, it had nothing to do with economics, because the white kids that were really involved, that were in the heart of this, were from the same area, living in the same area that the blacks were from. It was considered from the west side of Stanford.
The poor side of town.
Yeah, the low economic area.
But were there also richer kids at West Hill? Or?
Oh yeah, West Hill was the poor and rich. There was really no in between. There was no medium. That was the problem. The poor kids were controlling the school. They were like the more aggressive, and they were the ones that would rob the jackets and the coats from the kids from what we call the ridges, or the richer area.
There's no separation between them. Did the teachers try to prevent the kids from mixing, or?
No. It was just educational. The minorities were in the low educational groups, and the white affluent were from they were in the zero groups.
The higher.
Yeah.
So was there violence at the school?
All the time.
All the time. How bad was it?
Well, it was always rub. Something was happening every day. My job as a gym teacher, a physical education teacher, the fourth period, where I would normally be what we would consider a free period, or where I would have free period, and also a period where I would it was supposed to be like preparing a lesson period. It was 2 periods. I taught 5, and there was a 7-period day. I taught 5 or 2 off. Those two periods, my job was to walk the halls and make sure that the halls, different sections of the halls, and make sure that the halls were clean. There was no fighting, no pushing, no shoving in the halls, that type of thing. If that wasn't taking place, then believe me, there would be fights all the time. There were constantly fights there all the time.
Every day?
I would say not every day, but I would say out of 5 days, 2 days definitely there was fights.
How big would the fights be? 20 kids involved, or just 3 or 4 kids?
Maybe 3 or 4 kids, and then they would escalate into more.
People would get involved. Hey, stop pushing him.
Yeah, that type of thing. That's exactly what would happen. 2 or 3 guys would go head on, and then some guys would jump in.
Was there any police at the school?
Well, the police didn't really come in till after the riots started. When the riots were after the 4th day of rioting, they had police, they had a SWAT team a block away down at a local church. The SWAT team was housed at a local church, St. Leo's Church, which is maybe 200 yards away from the school. So they had the SWAT team after the third or fourth day of rioting. They had the SWAT team there located at the church, and come up at any time. When it went full gun, when the fourth day came, and when this kid got stabbed, a white kid got stabbed in the lungs and punctured his lungs. SWAT team came in and take over. It was so close to having that school never be used again. Didn't realize this when the SWAT team came in, and if they used tear gas, the tear gas would get into the blocks, into the cement in the school, and you could never use the school again.
It would just be that bad, the tear gas?
Oh yeah, they would. Yeah, that would have.
Are there any other specific events you remember as being really bad? Any other stabbings?
There was, that one stabbing stands out because that's the stabbing that kicked everything. Everybody went bananas. I'll give you an example. Here's what happened during the stabbing. Again, I'm walking my hall upstairs, and with another physical education teacher, and we hear screams and going crazy. And we run into the room, and we see this kid, and he's blood all over. The Afro-American stabbed this kid into his chest, punctured his lung. We grabbed the kid, run him downstairs, and they had ambulances and EMTs and everyone there. Then the cops came up like, all the cops in the world were there, fire department, everyone was there. Because we were with the kid, we found the kid. The school administration asked me and this other fellow, John Sagnelli, to go with the kid to the hospital. So we jump in the ambulance, and it looked really bad. He was like, it looked like, this kid's going to go out. And what happened was we get to the hospital with this kid, right? And all of a sudden, all the white kids in West Hill are at the hospital, and they're going bananas. They're going bananas. So we finally get things settled where the white kid is now in the hospital, and principal came up, and everyone was up there, and everything gets settled, and we went back to school. Police drive us back to school. So when I got back to school, they called me into the office, because I was really the first one on the scene to see the kid get stabbed, and they said, you got to explain to them what happened. I said, I wouldn't worry about the kid in the hospital. What I would worry about is all the kids that came up to the hospital are going bananas, going nuts. So they knew, because I was coaching football, that I knew all these kids. They had asked me, Adele Gordon, who was on the Board of Education, Sally Severe, who was on the Board of Education at the time, and we were very close friends with them. They said, Dominick, is there any way you can get these kids in one place to your house? I said, hold on. I'll get the word out, and trust me, the white kids will be at my house. The white kids, I said, but I want two things. I want an administrator there, because those kids leave my house. I don't want to be responsible for what happens. So they said, okay, you can have administrator. Who else do you want? I said, I need the other three coaches I coach football with there, and I would like to have, a female there, So anyway, I get home, and I call the kids that I know that are going to be the ringleaders. They're going to get the word out. About 8 o'clock, I said to everyone, okay, we'll meet at my house at 8 o'clock. Now, I had a small home. And all of a sudden, all the white kids
Just show up.
And there's who's on the lawn. There's no way you can get them all into the house. The administrator was there. There's Bobby Antonazzi, who was the administrator there. The school was there. Carl Lamone, John Sagnelli, Nick Giancola, and myself, who all coached football, and this female teacher who was there, who was the English department head. They was wild. It was like, I said, hold on, calm down. I said, first of all, I got my family upstairs, so I don't want any swearing or anybody going bananas here, or this is over. I became very afraid because, one, there was too many kids there. Second of all, the way they were acting, I knew that they were revved up. They was really, they could have left there and really did some damage, right? And I was afraid of that. I was told that after the meeting that I was to call Tom Reardon. He's the assistant superintendent of schools. I was to call Tom Reardon. And I was to go down after my meeting. I was to go to the Board of Education. Tom Reardon would be there, and he wanted me to give my impression of what's going on. So we had all these kids in my house, and went to their cars, and we saw these guns and stuff. So Nick Giancola said, was kidding. He's kidding with the kid outside, because we got a lot of people outside, a lot of white kids outside, a lot of kids, white kids inside, and we were trying to calm things down. So Nicky G went outside to kind of talk to those kids. Look, we got to, you got to calm down, Meanwhile, while we're talking to white kids, there was 2 or 3 black guys, Afro-Americans, having the black kids meet up at Yearwood Center, what they call Yearwood Center, to try to calm them down. So anyway, Nicky G goes outside. They open the trunk. There's like guns that, they could supply the army with the guns they had and the stuff they had. So, and G came in to me. He said, let's get down to the Board of Ed right now. So I said, why? What's going on? And he told me what happened. So I said, okay. So we go down to the Board of Education to meet with Assistant Superintendent Tom Reardon. And he said, Dominick, what do you think? Now remember, I'm just a teacher, right? And I said, well, here's what I think. I'll be very honest with you, Tom. I don't think I want to come back to school tomorrow, because these kids are revved up, and it's not just they have guns. They're revved up. Someone's going to use this thing. So they decided to close down the school, which was a smart move.
How long was it closed down for?
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, but they were smart enough to know that this was bad. It was really bad. It was 3 days, then a weekend, and then they were going to come back the following Monday. So when I got down to this Board of Ed, I talked to the Assistant Superintendent of Schools, and these other guys backed me up. It wasn't me just my cool.
With a whole group of people.
Well, no, it was the administrator, the other 3 coaches, football coaches, myself, and this guy Frank Sylvester, who came up down also. He was the phys ed department head, and the woman administrator didn't come down. And when we were down there, they asked all of us the same thing. What's your impression? He says, Dominick, it was your home, you put it together, what do you think? I said, if it was me, I'd close the schools. There's no way that what these kids got, guns and stuff, that you can continue this thing. I don't care who you bring in. Don't forget, when they brought that SWAT team in, that's not like fooling around stuff. This was like,
serious.
It was serious. When the cops were there, they couldn't control anything. Let me tell you what was happening. The first day, there's 2 buildings at West Hill. They call it Building A and Building B. The first day after this, how it got started, you want me to explain to you how it got started?
Yes.
Okay. Up in the cafeteria, white kids walking down the stairs, and Afro-American kids coming down. White kid pours milk on him and says, I'm going to make you white like me. And kept pouring white right on him. Well, then that kicked it off. That was the one that broke the straw. That started, Then after that, it was like going crazy. Now you had an interesting thing. You had the A house and B house. Out of the A house and between the 2, there's like big space. Out of the A house, the white kids would all come out. Out of the B house, all the black kids would come out, and they would come meet in the middle of this little area. Yeah. And now this is all the kids, right? The only kids who were getting involved were the Haitians. They didn't know what to do. They were like
in the corner,
offset. So every day, the white kids would come out, the black kids come out. They meet, confront them, and all the cops and everybody would be there. We break it up. They go back. Second day, the same thing. Same thing. They would after their cafeteria at a certain time. It was like they had a planned time. At like 1:10, we go out and meet and start to fight. They come out again the second day. And the second day, it was like you can see that it was really getting troublesome. You know what I mean? It was close to not. There's punches thrown, and we breaking up fights, but it was getting out of control. You can see the second day was totally out of control. The third day is when the kid got stabbed, in the lung, up in the classroom. By the way, the second day, this guy Frank Sylvester, who was the department head, he goes in to break up a little skirmish between 6 white kids and 6 black kids are going to go at it out that area, and he goes in the middle. And this one kid has a gun. I don't want to give his name, but he has a gun. It wasn't it was like one of those air guns type of thing, but he pulled this thing. But when you look at it,
it looks like a regular gun.
Yeah, it looks like and everybody start closing in instead of like running and being afraid and running off. everybody was coming in. This was the second day. This way, it was really getting to the point. The second day, you knew something had to be done. The third day comes, and now there's all kinds of cops. But here they come. The third day came out. That's when the kid got stabbed, and they stopped everything. The kids get stabbed. We take them to the ambulance, and that's when we met over my house the third night there.
Were you ever afraid of these kids really hurting you?
I got to tell you, when I saw those guns, I wasn't going back to school.
You weren't going back?
No way.
Not going to risk it?
No. Because, very honestly, let me give you a little story of what I'm about with these kids, how I know them, right? My wife called me at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was up at school teaching. My daughter Dawn, she said Dawn lost her best camel hair coat. And I said, what happened? She wore it to school and they stole it. I said, don't worry about it. It's 10 o'clock. I'll go up to the upstairs and I'll get it back. I go up to the cafeteria and I grabbed 6 kids that I knew that ran to school.
Yeah.
The
ringleaders.
The ringleaders. I knew. I said, look, here's the problem. Here's the situation. If I don't get my daughter's coat back, there will be problems between you and I that you won't want to be involved in. Trust me. I don't get that coat back, and my wife is mad at me. You will regret the day that you stole the coat. I swear to you, within 10 minutes, they came back with 3 camel hair coats. And the reason, and my daughter's downstairs in the weight room, and I brought the 3 coats down to her, and I said, Dawn, which coat is yours? She said, Daddy, my ring's in one of the pockets. So sure enough, her high school ring was in the pocket. It was the coat. So now I got 3 camel hair coats. One is Dawn's, the other 2. So I said to these 2 kids, look, I don't want these 2. They said to me, you got another daughter, right, Coach? Yeah, give it to her. I said, get the hell out of here. Take these coats, get out. These 2, get out of here. So that's the relationship I have with them. There was other stories I can tell you that where they got involved with the bookies, and I took care of, we got involved in that. Anyway, getting along away from this. I was definitely afraid.
You're definitely afraid.
Definitely afraid. Not so much of just stabbing, but when the riots were happening, there was no control of anything. There were masses of people, and who was swinging, and who was,
It was just wild.
Just wild. It wasn't like 1 or 2 kids and you could break it up, It was different. It was out of control. And now seeing the guns and stuff I saw, I was really afraid.
Now you mentioned your daughter. How much of the riots was she there for at the high school?
She was there the entire thing.
The entire thing. Did you feel scared for her? Did you try to separate her from it?
Well, I think that she was like separate from it. She was young and totally separate from it. She was never in with the white kids doing this.
She was in the higher education.
Yeah, right.
So she wasn't completely involved in it, though
she was not
there.
involved. Yeah, she was in the school, not involved.
Okay, so you were happy with that?
Yeah, and I was afraid that something would happen. It isn't a matter of when things are out of control, things happen, and people get swept up into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that someone wants to be in it. They may not want to be in it, but because of what's happening in the school, they get swept up into it.
Did you ever sympathize with either the white kids or the African American kids?
Being honest with you, I think that it wasn't so much. It was a black-white thing, but it was the poor black against the poor white, and the rest of the whites got involved because it was white, and the rest of the blacks got involved because it was black. It was not. It was. I felt sorry for both of them because, very honestly, there's some kids that were sucked into this thing that got hurt.
That didn't want to be there at all.
They were there because they wanted to be part of what's happening in the school. They walked out with the white kids because they wanted to be part of what was happening. You know what I mean?
They didn't want to be seen as weak.
Yeah, exactly. There it is. So they were part of it. If you probably asked them, would you want to stay home that day? They would have definitely stayed home. That was another thing. After the second day, before the kid there was a lot of kids not coming to school.
Just skipping.
Their parents wouldn't let them come to school.
Oh, really?
It wasn't a matter of skipping. Their parents said, "There's no way we're sending these kids to school," because it's like you think of the white kid in the zero group. He's not aggressive. He's not into that stuff. And he was getting pushed in it because he was white. He wanted to be part of the school. And there was another thing. It was brought out, like, if you were white and you didn't get involved, you were shunned from the white kids. If you were black, like the Haitians, they didn't want any part of this. They didn't know what the hell. They didn't know what was going on. So they were like the white, black, and they were like the third group over there. But they weren't getting involved. You know what I mean?
By Haitians, do you mean people who moved to America from Haiti?
Yeah, they were black, but Haitians. They were black.
They separated themselves.
They kind of separated themselves because they really didn't understand what was going on.
Did they think they were better than them?
No, not at all. That wasn't at all. They were afraid. They were very afraid to get involved with either group. They were very afraid to get involved in this because, don't forget, people were getting expelled and suspended and get thrown out. And it was like But you see, the problem was you couldn't throw out the whole school. You couldn't throw out. I mean, it wasn't like just 10, 15 kids. There was all the blacks in the school on one hand, all the whites in the other end. So it's not thrown out. You could, there were some ringleaders, but you couldn't throw out just 2 or 3 kids. You'd have to throw out the whole white and the whole black population
to get everything to calm down. It just wouldn't have been feasible.
No.
Is there any way you think you could have handled it differently, or it could have been handled to have a better outcome?
There was a lot of things that occurred that should not have occurred. The second day, the principal decided to have all the black students meet in the auditorium, the assembly, and he had black kids running around the school in each class saying, "Okay, all the black students, there's other words they're using." All the black students meet in the assembly, meet in the auditorium at 10:30 or whatever it was. When they were all there, now the white kids were really ticked off. They said, "Why are they brought there?" That escalated things even worse. That was like a bad situation. That was a bad, stupid move.
To separate them into...
Well, it was to have it was like catering to the blacks, come down to the assembly, and we're going to, talk. Well, what about us, the white kids? Why aren't you talking to us? You see, you know what I'm trying to... I'm not trying to... The thing was how they did it and why and what they did was wrong.
Do you think that's because they just didn't know what to do?
They didn't know what to do. I would tell you this. One of the things that happened after the second day, they brought in from the West Side, the people at West Side, Andy Robustelli, who was, New York Giants football.
The New York Giants football player.
He came in to try to figure out what to do. See, nobody could figure out what to do. Nobody could figure out how to stop this. For 2 days now, the whites come on one side, the blacks come on the other side. And it was nose to nose, So they decided to bring in people from the West Side because remember what I said, the blacks are from the West Side and the whites from the West Side were the ones that really
causing the problem.
So they bring in Andy Robustelli, pro football player. He was on the board. They were meeting right at West Hill, figuring out what to do. Lenny Pompa, a number of dignitaries and people from the West Side, right? And figuring out what the hell are we going to do? I mean, these are the people from the West Side, black and white. Maybe we can talk to them and how about our past and kind of stop this. No control. Because the second day that they came out of the 2 buildings, you knew something was happening. And the third day is when the kid got stabbed.
And that was a crescendo of it.
Then they closed down school.
That was it for the 5 days with the weekend.
5 days plus the weekend. Well, it was 3 days the weekend and another 2 days after that.
Okay.
It was 5 days plus the weekend.
All right. That is a lot more. Did West have a reputation as being a bad school at that time, or?
Yeah, a little worse. It was. There were 3 high schools: Rip One High School, Stanford High, and West Hill. West Hill had West Hill drew from the real poor economic West Side. The Connecticut Avenue, the Jackie Robinson projects, the Connecticut Avenue projects, the Southfield Village projects. West Hill had,
the rough kids.
There was kids you wanted to not, bring home to mom, those are the kids,
West Hill was the worst school out of the three.
Yeah, no question.
Did you ever wish you taught for more time at Rippewam, or you just didn't even teach at West Hill?
There were times when you couldn't teach at West Hill because the time our job was to get around to the halls. And the first 2 years, the kids had, there was no buildings anywhere around West Hill. And right now there's GE and different other companies with buildings around. But our job was to go into the woods. The kids somehow got a trailer put into the woods.
A trailer?
Yeah, a trailer. And they would, when they would have or cut loose, they would go into the woods, into the trailer, smoke pot. And so that was... I remember second period, that was my job. Leave the baseball field, walk into the woods, get them out of the woods, and get them back to class.
Were they punished if they were found smoking pot, or just more, come on, get back to class?
Get back to class because you're punished. See, the thing was, it wasn't like 10 kids that you can say, okay, let's suspend 10 kids. Kids were being suspended for all different reasons, let alone just this, right?
Yeah.
So if you did that, you were losing 30, 40 kids a day. And there ain't no way the school system was going to throw 30, 40 kids a day out, And then it wasn't going to happen. Any school, Trumbull or wherever it is, you're not going to get rid of 30, 40 kids a day. The Board of Ed in the city would be on your back, like crazy.
You said you were more crowd control than a teacher, really.
Those periods that I had to go into my free period and my preparation period, those 2 periods, I was crowd control. I was like a monitor, hallway monitor. One time I'll give you an example. One time of what my job was. One time they have like a senior day or at the end of the year, the 7th, 8th. Let's say. If this 78th day or something, all the seniors would take off, or juniors would take off the 7th, 9th day. There was a day when each class would have. We used to have to get in our cars, go up to Pound Ridge where they would have their beer fests and all that whole day, and we were told, go up there, get those kids and bring them back. Well, there were so many kids up there. We said we couldn't fit them in bus, let alone cars. Let's say the whole sophomore class would be up. Let's say it was the day that the sophomores
we're skipping.
That whole day, all the sophomores would be up there drinking and going crazy.
Just all of them would just be.
Yeah, and see, that was the other thing. If you didn't go there, you were chastised by outcasts from the. And no kid wants that.
No.
I don't care how straight you are. Everyone wants to fit in, and everybody wants to be part of. It isn't had nothing to do with education, how smart you are, but that's what it was. The kid wants to fit in with his peers, and if you didn't go, and they would say, yeah, you didn't come, you're this, you're that, and so that no one wanted to feel like that. Yeah, 1 or 2 stayed back, but 90% of them were up there that day. So that was my job also, to go up there, flush them out,
So how do you think it's changed from back then to today?
I think, my personal opinion, I think teachers are so afraid of losing their job, they're not doing their job. I know very well, I got suspended 3 times, and I know that what takes place in schools today would never happen when I was there.
What'd you get suspended for? Just very vaguely.
This young black Afro-American started with F this and F that to me, and I said, I didn't hear you say it again. And he really went crazy. I ran after him, I caught him, I grabbed him, tossed him to the ground. Didn't punch him, but did say a lot of things I shouldn't have said. I lost it. I lost it myself. He went outside, broke a beer bottle, came at me with a beer bottle, broken bottle, and I said, come on, cut me, because I'll kill you. And all. It really out of control.
It was just going.
Right. I lost it, to be honest. I got suspended. I figured I was out for a week, 2 weeks. I got a call that night, come back to school the next day. Very surprised, because I was with my reps, I was with union and I was very surprised to get back to school the next day. What had happened, he shot a teacher in Florida, and he got into West Hill before they sent this jacket or all the information about him.
The records about
him. So he shot this teacher in Florida. They sent him up to Connecticut so he can get out. They sent him out of Florida. He comes into West Hill the next day, but they didn't send the information. And that next day, second day in school there, that's when he and I had the tussle. Oh yeah, it was. But again, I get back to what I'm saying. I'm invited back to West Hill once a month to go to lunch with the guys now in the phys ed department. I was athletic director and department head, and all the guys that came in now or teaching there now are guys that came in their first year when I was department head. Everyone else had left. I was department head, and they came in, and so they were kind of like, kind of starting out. I was starting them out and showed them the ropes or whatever it is. And then I realized after this last suspension with this kid that I had to retire because I've had it. Could we do today with these kids that we did then? No way. I mean, we bounced them around a little bit, let me tell you. And but see, the thing was that they may come in and say "F you" or something for the first time. They may do it, but they would never have done it the second time because they knew
what was going to happen.
I mean, there are a lot of things that I'm not proud of we did with these kids, but those are the kids that we were dealt with. I mean, at our lunchtime, our phys ed lunchtime, the male phys ed teachers, once a week, they used to bring these 11 psychos in, and they said, look, just wear them out for an hour. Just take them for an hour, just wear them out. Oh, those kids used to drive us crazy. I mean, they really, really were off the walls, and so we had to deal with them for a week. I mean, for one period, And I mean, a funny situation with them. Cops come up to the school and they said, "You Lacerenza and G and Cole?" I said, "Yes." You know these kids? Yeah, we have them. Why? They robbed a gas station to go to a liquor store to buy us a bottle of wine. Brought the wine to us. And we never knew that we didn't tell them to rob the liquor, the station, nor bring us, liquor. But for Valentine's Day or something, they bought us liquor, and we were in trouble. And so, how are we in trouble? Well, you took liquor from these kids. Well, it was a different situation today.
What do you think teachers should do today?
This is my thinking. Okay, I think that you've got to be more physical with them.
You got to be more physical.
Oh, no question. There is a guy that I respect very much. His name is Lewis. We went to UB together. He taught at Warren Harding High School. He was the head football coach at Warren Harding High School.
In Bridgeport?
Yeah, in Bridgeport. And because remember, I taught at Buller Haven Tech, which is in Bridgeport, which is right next to Harding. And he said to us, if you want them to if you say to them, take your hat off, don't say it unless you can make them take their hat off. In other words, if you say, look, take your hat off, Peter, and you can't, and he says whatever, and you can't make him take the hat off, then don't say it. And that's what I think that's happening here. The teachers can't make them take their hats off because they
can't do it.
Yeah, so they can't do it. They can't. They physically can't make them take their hats off. So they're not saying take your hats off. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So they can't, because they can't physically make them take their hats off. They're not saying take your hats off.
They're just concerned about their job.
Yeah.
If I did this, I could get fired.
Yeah. For instance, all these phys ed teachers up there now have got 17 years. They're halfway there.
Yeah.
And for a pension, they're not going to lose their job. They're not going to put their job on the line. And I understand that. But when that happens, in the school system, whether it be Stanford High, Bassett, wherever, when it happens, and you're worried about keeping your job, you kind of you're walking on eggs a little bit, not to do something.
Do something off.
Right. Don't forget, if a teacher hits a kid today, he's in trouble.
It's a big problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. Not a big problem, huge problem. If what I did 18, 19 years ago with this kid, I would I'd probably be in jail someplace. When I grabbed, I really went at him and said things I should never have said, words I should have never said. But I lost it, and as soon as I felt I lost it, and remember, I was department head and athletic director. And as soon as I saw I lost it, and I came home and said to my wife, that's it.
You're not really teaching anymore. You're police now.
Not so much even policing. It was to see, like, I couldn't take, the kid that was coming up and saying the things that had no respect. I couldn't buy that.
You were just sick of it.
Yeah, not so much sick of it. I just felt that was wrong. That it wasn't you're not educating anymore. You're just trying to control and babysit, and that's why I couldn't do it anymore. Because I couldn't. I don't even stomach it. I just couldn't buy it. Couldn't buy into that a teacher can say whatever they want to a kid. A kid could say to a teacher anything he wants or get away with it.
Nothing would happen to him.
Nothing would happen.
All right, well, thank you. This has been a very interesting experience.
There's a lot more to my histories up there at West Hill, but it's just not West Hill. It was the times. Those are the times. Those that's on the writings and all the stuff in the other schools.
Civil rights movement.
Yeah, all of it. That was a whole ball of wax going on.
It was a rough time in the 70s.
Yeah, and I think that had a lot to do with it. And I think the blacks and Afro Americans wanted their respect, that type of thing. They wanted what was coming to them, type of thing. And there was a lot of things I think they should have done differently. But it was a matter of just trying to control kids. I used to have a favorite thing. I don't know if you still got time, but whenever I was walking home, there's two kids fighting. I used to sing "Red Red Wine." I sing the song "Red Red Wine," and if they were just fooling around, they would say, "Oh, that's lost," because they would know my song, and they would stop fooling around, take off. But if I came up and two kids were fighting, and I sang "Red Red Wine," and they didn't stop, then I know it was a real fight, and I would have to go in and break it up. A lot of times you go into these fights, you get hurt. Who's punching, who's, and you're breaking in the middle. So it was a way of my saying, well, is this a real fight or not a fight,
Just to determine the
seriousness of the thing. Kid by Jeff Bavino, who was phys ed, went into a men's locker room during these times, and kid took a razor blade and came down the side of his face inside a bathroom.
You just cut him open?
Yeah, cut the fist, and I was the department head. He got working under me, and cut him open, and who knew what happened in there, And but Pavino, this kid Jeff Pavino, he's a teacher now, believe it or not, still teaching up in I don't know, Bridgeport or wherever, and he was a great athlete, great coach, but he told me that was one of the things in his life that he's really afraid. He was back against the wall, and he didn't know what to do, and then kid cut him first, and then anyway, those are the things that happen.
All right, well, thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Is that what you want?